Hi, this is Jody King Colegrove with Quantum Techniques. We have developed a proven technique to quickly determine the root cause of your health issue using a form of energy medicine. I work with people all over the world on the phone, helping them determine why they're having a health issue and what they can do about it. Today I want to talk personally about a injury that I had. So my dad gifted me with a Nordic Track treadmill, and it has, the iFit trainers on it, and it is spectacular. I can't explain more how much fun it is. I love to travel, I love to exercise, and so putting those two things together, I am on cloud nine. So sure enough, I got on it right away, and I've always wanted to travel to Nova Scotia. And so they had a run about Nova Scotia. So I went on there, and I was having a grand time running away. Well, I was running downhill. And I have to admit, I'm not much of a runner. I'm more of a really fast walker, walk the dog and things like that. Well, I hurt my heel. And what it was is I had an old injury from a gymnastics, I was trying to do an aerial cartwheel, and so I landed on my heel really, really hard. And so I had some old scar tissue that I wasn't aware of, never bothered me for years. But this particular injury, because of running downhill, activated that and created it to start hurting. So the next thing I kind of did right around that same time is I started taking activated charcoal. And what that is supposed to do is it's supposed to help get the heavy metals and any toxins out of your body. Well, I've had a couple surgeries because of skiing and also some dental work where I had metals in my body. So sure enough, it started detoxing them, but it went to the place where I had inflammation, which was my heel. So I worked with Quantum Techniques and got rid of that supplement because it didn't test good for me. So I worked on getting the heavy metals out of the body with Quantum Techniques. So then what I did is obviously I went and got a chiropractor adjustment for my feet and had him look at it, make sure that, my gait was good, my balance was good, hips, everything was aligned. But he did mention that I tended to lean over more. And so to make sure that I'm kind of just being aware of my posture is up. And I realized that, I've had some heavy burdens I've been carrying lately about being away from my family. And my mom has Alzheimer's. And so just kind of carrying that burden a little bit has kind of made me be a little bit more over. And so being aware to stand up, we have lower counters in the house we're in at the moment. And so I'm used to everything kind of being up, and I was leaning over a lot more. A couple of the things that kind of exacerbated the issue was the fact that for the last couple of years, I work at home doing Quantum Techniques, and so I've been walking around on concrete floors barefoot because they always say it's good to ground, and I didn't need to wear shoes inside. We like to keep it clean, but that was starting to lower the arch of my foot, and so it was starting to get irritated that way. So I also got a massage to make sure that, everything was, there wasn't any ligaments, tendons, joints, that was really not functioning well. So I worked on that. All right, let's see where I'm at. So cleared inflammation. So then I also got some supportive shoes. And what I didn't know is living in the Arizona desert before, nothing goes bad. Now I live in a more tropical environment and things go bad more often. And so they were explaining that the rubber on soles will decrease quicker, and so you won't have the padding. So I had had my shoes for 4 years and didn't realize that the padding was going bad on it. So I got some really good supportive shoes. I also got, because I live in a colder or warmer climate now, I got some supportive sandals that also had a really good arch support. So instead of walking around on the concrete floors now with bare feet, I walk in with the sandals to help support that. The next thing I did, is I got a ball. It's very hard, but that way you can roll it around on your heel in the different areas, and you're kind of massaging out those different points when you exercise that hurt, and also strengthening the ligaments and tendons and working out the inflammation that way. So that's another good tool. I went to a podiatrist, and he said that yes, after x-rays and things like that, that I did have plantar fasciitis, And so he suggested that you want to make sure, again, you have good supported arches, but also that you can stretch. And so so it's hard to demonstrate because my foot's way down there, but in other words, you're stretching with your leg this way and you're pulling it back. If you just stretch without something like a belt or something like that, what happens is it engages your muscles too much. So by doing it this way, where you're pulling back on your foot this way, you're not engaging your muscles, but you're keeping that tension going. So that was another good exercise that he suggested. All right, let's see what I got here. Other things that I did is I did an MMS bath, and that helped every 4 days or so to really get the toxins that I was working out of the system to get out of the system, and that was really wonderful. Herbs that I used were MSM to help inflammation, also helps WOA enzymes. I also increased my amount of curcumin to 6 a day, which is quite a bit than I was taking before, but that helped also decrease the inflammation. I also took a Sia, which is a great drink to help reduce the inflammation and get things out of your cells and detox, and helps if you have an area that needs to have repair, it will go to that area and help repair those tissues. So that's great. They also have a gel that I rubbed on the bottom of my foot along with CBD oil, and both of those helped relieve any pain that I had. I also made sure that my endocannabinoid system, which is the pain receptors in the body, were fully functioning and online. Made sure my lymphatic system was working. I did go also and get a thermology to make sure that I didn't have any more hidden inflammation that I wasn't aware of, because sometimes what happens is if you have a dental work, sometimes if it is inflamed, that will show up in phlebomography and where it's going to in the body and creating inflammation. And so I wanted to make sure that if my knee or anything like that had some inflammation, if it was drawing back down to that area. So all right, so let's see what else, other things I covered. Talking about stretching with that belt morning and night is really important. The podiatrist said when you do that, then most people do not come back. The other thing that the podiatrist said is that to make sure you get some insoles which are supported, and to wear those all the time. Now, my chiropractor said, I want you to, every time you're walking, to walk and pull your toes in. And what that's going to do is if this arch has kind of decreased, it's going to start building up the muscles in the bottom of the foot to make them stronger. And so I've really, as I've walked the dog, walked in the house, walked on the treadmill, really concentrate on just massaging my feet, even running that way to make sure you're, and I also, in running with these trainers, learned how to run better. So you land in the middle of your foot and then push off your toes. So it's that same idea of really building up that arch. So what I found interesting is that the podiatrist was saying to keep it elevated and supported all the time. And the chiropractor was saying, yes, it's good, but you also need to work it. So one will make it atrophy and the other one will build it up. And so at Quantum Techniques, I think that was important that I wanted to share with people, is that think about the different techniques and what they're saying for the body and what's going to be best for you. And so I've really worked at, yes, supporting it with shoes and things like that, but also doing all the other things to help support it and get it back to fully functioning again. All right, so we talked about posture, and it's really important. There's several books out about how to have really good posture, and that I was surprised at how much that had changed when I just was aware how I was leaning and looking, how that affected the foot and how it hurt. All right, emotional. Okay, I kind of talked about how sometimes you have an issue because it's an emotional issue, and sometimes we're holding pain in a tissue for a certain reason, and there was a little bit of me that said that I shouldn't have that kind of joy and excitement and happiness and pleasure when my mom has an illness. And I had to let that go. And what I thought was neat is I can go and run in these beautiful places in Europe. I ran in Dresden, and I ran in Innsbruck, and Frankfurt, and those are places I didn't get to visit with my mom, and she loved to travel, and she gave me that travel bug, I guess I would say it. And so I realized, instead of saying, well, I shouldn't enjoy being here, what I should say is, Mom, thank you so much for giving me the joy of wanting to travel and see these places. And so I turned it around, and I think that's really important. Obviously, you can tell it's a little bit emotional still, but that really helped me reframe what I was doing and why I was keeping maybe some of that pain in the tissue. All right. So learn to run better. Sometimes it will test well for me to put on like a brace at night, and that's something that I haven't done yet, but I might do that. Another thing that with quantum techniques, what we found is that I had gotten some bites on that side of the body, and I was holding that bite or venom along with virus bacteria in the ligaments and in that tissue, making it have inflammation. And that's one of the beauties of quantum techniques, is that we're able to find out why that tissue has inflammation, what it's still holding, and why. And it could be, like you said, physical, or it could be non-physical. So once I cleared those bites, it started getting a lot better. So I wanted to kind of share with you my journey of going through, an illness, or I don't know if this is really an illness, but it's a problem or a health issue that has impacted me. I mean, it's really hard to wear high heels and go to church and go out to eat, because I really need to have more supported shoes. And I think that's something that I wanted to share, because we do go through this. So it is a journey when we have kind of an issue like this. And how long it will take, we don't know. But there's so many things we can learn from that. I mean, look at all the plethora of things I learned on how to take care of the body and why and how it's connected. And I can use that information for when I work with my clients on whatever issues they have. So I think the important thing I wanted to share is to learn to take care of yourself and be aware. Why is this in my life, and what can I do about it? So visit quantumtechniques.com, and we can help you with what you're suffering with and find out what you can do about it. So blessings from Quantum Techniques. You can go on our website and fill out a session request so we can work together. All right, blessings.